Hey, join me today. I want to share with you some things that you only need to do once in your business. This episode is all about finding that list of things you need to do and thinking about what only needs to be done once forever that will mean you get a cumulative or ongoing benefit to your business. Does that sound a bit crazy or a bit like, really? That sounds stupid. No, for real. It's possible. Listen in, I'll tell you how.
Welcome to Aussie E-commerce Mum, a diary-style podcast for those of you starting out or running a product-based business. E-commerce is growing and more entrepreneurs are dipping their toes into making money online. In my podcast, you'll learn and be inspired by my experiences with running 2 Shopify websites that I started in 2020, because the e-commerce world is very different from running a digital or service-based business. On this journal-style podcast, I share my day-to-day trials and triumphs as they unfold in real time. Because let's face it, navigating the e-commerce world feels less daunting when we share our hurdles with someone else. Join me as I share from my kitchen table in Adelaide, Australia. Brought to you by one of my online stores, theturtlejournal.com.au.
Hey, my name's Rachel from Aussie E-commerce Mum. This is episode number 48 and I want to talk to you today about a topic I have called Do the Work Once. Do the work once, just once. That's what I'm talking about today for episode number 48. So, is your to-do list growing and growing and growing and growing? Your ideas list, the things you want to do one day. Do you ever see an end in sight for this list? If it's growing and growing, you don't see an end, then I totally understand. I hear you. But I want to encourage you that not all tasks are created equal. And I've caught myself several times the last few weeks doing tasks simply on autopilot. But I actually think it's probably time to ask myself a few questions and reevaluate a few things about the tasks I spend my time doing. So if you listen to this episode, then I encourage you afterwards to go back and listen to episode number 14 called Why Are You Doing That? Which is a little bit about the same as I'm talking about today, but Why Are You Doing That? Which is episode 14. Goes into a little bit more about our expectations and having reasonable expectations and really evaluating what we do and why we do it. This episode is more about doing the work once, because all tasks are not created equally. And different tasks require different things from us. They may suck the energy from us, like my bookkeeping, or they may invigorate us and energize us, like when I look at meta ads when I'm in the back of Facebook and Instagram and launching new campaigns and analyzing the data. Things like that energize me and invigorate me. So I want to encourage you to get out your current to-do list, and if you don't have one on your page, I'm sure you have one in your head. So it's time to write it down on paper. There's a real benefit in putting things on paper. To get that to-do list out of your head and put it onto some paper. Now, what on that to-do list that you have in your head at the moment while you're listening or on paper, what on that list is something that you could do once, but the benefit is ongoing or cumulative? So what do I mean by this? So with this exercise, I'm doing it for my own business right now. I'm thinking about a few tasks and things that I do, so I'll share a bit more about that as we go on. But this whole exercise is really designed to pull you out of the day-to-day and to help you see the bigger picture of your business and what's going on and what things you could be doing to benefit your business now, as opposed to what you just sort of feel like you have to do or you need to do. So not what is immediately in front of you to fix or solve or to complete now, today, as your urgent tasks, because goodness knows we have enough of those things to do. And when we have lots of those things to do anyway, trying to do any sort of strategy type work is really overwhelming. We tend to put it off as well. So, if I'm a bit stressed or overwhelmed and I don't want to concentrate on this sort of work or think about this sort of work, then I'll go shred some paper for my orders and my packaging filler. I'll go and rearrange my office, rearrange my stock, pack some orders, okay? So that's what I'll do. Is any of that sounds familiar to you? Because I'm sure it does. If you're in e-commerce, I'm sure that sounds really familiar. But if you take a higher level look at what is on your current list of things to do, your current workload, I call this your hard landscape. It's not just your to-do list, but it's your hard landscape. Like a hard cliff is what I think of, like a cliff edge. Everything that exists in the world that is your business, in the world that is your brain, in the world that is your schedule and your to-do list, your hard landscape, the ugly truth of it all. When you think about that list of things that needs to do, think about this question for yourself. What can I do just once from this list of things that will have benefits ongoing for me and my business, or the benefits are cumulative. I'll give you an example right now of something that will make so much sense as soon as I say it, which is an abandoned cart email flow. Does it make sense now, kind of what lens I'm putting over this list of to-do list items, what perspective I'm trying to look at this list of stuff through? Is that lens of what is it on this list I could do, or I could prioritize and schedule to do, that would mean I'm just doing the work once. Just do the work once. Not the things you have to do every week or every month, not your next BAS statement, not ordering inventory, not packing orders, not ordering tape or stickers or labels, not those things, not your next blog post, not your social media schedule, not the things that go around and around in sort of a repetitive nature. What on this list could you do just once? And if you did it, you would find benefits over time. It would be cumulative. The benefits would be ongoing. So an abandoned cart email flow, perfect example of something that if you haven't already got it, and people who don't have it generally, or people who are obviously who think it's not worth having, have never done it before. But that sort of thing is often true with email marketing. I find anybody who doesn't do it or doesn't think it's worth doing, doesn't do it or doesn't do it well, because it's worth so much money to my business. It's definitely a no-brainer to do it for sure. And I actually never hardly look at my abandoned cart email flow to see how much it makes me in revenue till this episode. So I thought I would go back and just have a quick look at what my abandoned cart email flow, and actually I should say that, reword that. It's actually not an abandoned cart, it's an abandoned checkout, because it's got to the stage where the customers put their email address in, otherwise they wouldn't get retargeted with an email. So it's not really abandoned cart. This is an abandoned checkout, is really what most people mean when they say abandoned cart. They actually really mean abandoned checkout. And in the last 90 days, one of my websites has made $120 in 90 days, and the other website $265. So how good is that? I mean, that just sits there. Like, I haven't paid attention to it since I set it up 3 years ago, and I haven't gone back to look at how much it's made me in 3 years either. I just thought I'd look at the last 90 days. But I did that work once. If I go back now and look at how much the abandoned cart email flow has made me and my business into an hourly rate of how much it did, how much I got paid to set that up at the beginning, I would have been paid hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars an hour to do those abandoned cart flows. So it is so worth the time. Some of these tasks on your list, when you put the lens over the top of what's something I could just do the work once. I haven't got a huge amount of energy at the moment, but I know I need to work on my business. But what would actually move the needle forward? What would actually benefit me past today? What would get me benefits ongoing or cumulative after I've completed this one task, rather than just completing the one task and then I have to do it again tomorrow or the next day or next week or next month? So now I think that's probably giving you a really good idea, if you weren't sure before what exactly I mean when I say do the work once, is to look at your hard landscape of your projects and your tasks, your ideas and your dreams, and think about, what can I do once? What on here can I just do once? I was so thrilled recently. I actually got my first paid gig offering meta advertising advice on a consultant type basis to a business. Like, for real. I was so thrilled. It was a really exciting opportunity for me. So I prepared training for this group. I trained a group of marketers in meta advertising and email marketing as well. So when I was preparing to run this training and I delivered with this marketing team, part of my contract was putting together a presentation and some stats and some figures, and then presenting some different metrics and things that they could, would be helpful in briefing an agency for running their paid advertising campaigns. And when I was preparing for this exciting opportunity, I did actually think of this very question. I put this whole lens of do the work once over the top of this role. And I thought about two things in particular, which was, did I spend way more time working on this contract than I actually charged the company, as in hours? I'm like, yes, of course. Like 100% way more hours I spent on this job than what I got paid for it. Was that intentional? Yes, it definitely was, because of this mindset of doing the work once. And let me explain. My mindset was, this is my very first paying client to offer a service, for me to offer a service to them, to train them in an area I have expertise in, which is Facebook and Instagram advertising. I've done it for 3 years. I've spent over 60K on the platform consistently over those 3 years. I haven't stopped for 2 years. I've learned along the way, and I've ridden that roller coaster. I've learned a lot of things. So my mindset was, this is my first ever paying client, and I'll definitely want to over deliver. So I made sure I spent super extra long, on this project than I would probably ordinarily, because it was my first one. But secondly, a lot of the work when you do anything for the first time can be used again and is just once off. So for instance, with this example for me, a lot of the time when I was preparing for this specific job and this contract, I was preparing a presentation with some educational points in it that I would obviously use for other clients. So some of the work I was doing, yes, I did more than I would have been paid for, of course, because my first contract job offering service-based expertise. I was super excited and motivated about it. But a lot of the work I did do, or a lot of the metrics I created, a lot of the data I found or researched for myself about the industry and what I've learned and what I know, I would use that knowings again. I could use that knowledge again for my next client and my next client. So I really did feel like if I thought about doing the work once, I have a template together now. I have a presentation, a generic structure, some generic terms I would use, some generic stats I would share that I would use with a new client. So I was doing the work once in some sense, particularly obviously the work that was far and above what I was charging this client for is work that I won't have to do from scratch next time. And it's exactly the same in e-com. When you got your first sale, how much of that work was once off to get that first sale? Lots of it when you think about it, and then lots of it you got the benefit of as time has gone on. You only set the website up once. You had to buy your packing boxes and shipping stuff once, initially, of course, but you had to make those decisions once. You had to decide on a theme once. You had to set up an email address, a domain once. You had to get your social media handles once. Lots of the work you are doing or have done in your business that moved your business significantly was done once. And some of those things I just mentioned meant your business went from being non-existent to existing. So it was really important work, because before that you weren't even a business, and now you are. So the work we do once can actually benefit us long-term, cumulatively, ongoing, over time, if we put that layer over it when we're doing things, and then think about why we're doing what we're doing with that frame of mind in place. So what ideas do you have? Plans that you have on your list now that you've been putting off, or you struggle to see why it's urgent today? But if you think about what it would add to you and your mindset, you as a business owner, or your business in some reoccurring way, it might motivate you to complete it sooner or to make it a higher priority. Here's some examples I thought of about, like, obviously the abandoned cart flow. The presentation I just mentioned to you that I did for this client when I was teaching a marketing team some things about Facebook and Instagram advertising. Some of the terms I used, the language and the slides that I put together about the industry in general were generic, and I would use those again. Hiring a staff member, you do that once. Well, that's probably not true. Let's say in a perfect world you do that once. But then the benefits, how much is that is ongoing? How much of that is cumulative and give back to you in your business? Then a few other things, a website pop-up. I love this one. You do that once and then the benefits are ongoing. I have a website pop-up that leads to adding people to my newsletter list, so they become part of my email group of people and customers I can market to via email. So that work of setting up the pop-up was once. And now that benefit has been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, well, one website, thousands of people subscribing since I did that work 6 months ago. Repurposing content even. It doesn't seem like it's not exactly the same league as setting up a website, obviously, but repurposing your content. So you take one video for social media and you use it over and over and over and over. Suck all the juice out of it. Use it in every way you possibly can imagine. Something else not quite the same, but a little similar, was meal planning. Like giving yourself back some time somehow. You get a cleaner. for your home. You meal plan maybe, and you get that time back by only thinking about those things once every month or once every 2 weeks rather than every day. So things that you mean you're thinking about or doing the work once. One thing David Allen talks about in his book, Getting Things Done, which I really love, is with emails. When you open an email, do something with it straight away. You don't need to finish it or do the work, but make the decision. So for me, I will move the email to a pending folder. Pending means I'm working on it. I will delete it, or I'll file it away in another folder, or I'll save it onto my OneDrive or Dropbox or what have you, as something I need to keep as a reference. So you're doing the decision making once. The work might still need to be done. For me with an email, of course, or for anyone with an email, you might need to work to do with that email, but just make the decision once, like open it, decide, and move on. So you're not going back to that email over and over again and having to re-decide and use that energy again and again on something that you should have just made the decision straight away and then filed it in its appropriate place and then moved on with things. So doing the work once, hey, I hope this has been a little bit different, a little bit motivating and freeing for you. I'm hoping that it will give you a bit of impetus to go ahead and look at this list of stuff you've got to do and dreams that you've got, and think about things not in the sense of what's just urgent and I would do every day anyway and I should probably do today because I do it every day, but what things could you maybe be doing and putting some energy into or making some time for that you'd only have to do the once, and then you'll get to reap the benefits again and again and again. Thank you for joining me. I hope my Diary Style podcast has been an encouragement for you as we've spent this time together sharing some real-time challenges, real-time wins of growing a product business here in Australia. Head to my website because you can send me an email. I'd really love to hear from you. My website is www.aussieecommercemum.com.au. I'll see you next time. As always, keep learning.